The galaxy had long believed Earth to be a quiet, unassuming planet, a backwater world of fragile, harmless humans who busied themselves with petty squabbles and technological infancy, a species so unremarkable that no major power considered them a threat. Yet in that very perception lay a fatal miscalculation, for humanity had built patience as meticulously as it built cities. It had honed resilience through countless crises and had developed a network of innovation that was both subtle and astonishing. And when the Andros Collective, a coalition of 5 dominant galactic empires, finally decided to assert control over the solar system under guise of protective oversight, they did so with arrogance, confident that the humans would submit quietly to their bureaucratic decrees and overwhelming firepower, their fleets of sleek warships gliding into orbit with silent superiority, deploying advanced drones to monitor every movement, scanning cities for signs of military readiness that were non-existent by any conventional standard. Yet beneath the calm surface of Earth's civilizations, a different preparation had been quietly underway, a combination of engineering brilliance, strategic foresight, and a deep understanding of the weaknesses inherent in overconfident invaders. For humans had watched the stars and the movements of other species for decades, developing technologies that outwardly seemed mundane, but were in fact tailored for one purpose: to defend their planet and the values they held dear, a purpose that was only now about to be revealed. And as the first fleet descended into the atmosphere, projecting their intimidating presence through energy shields that shimmered like liquid metal against the sunlight, humanity did not panic or scramble. They did not send envoys to beg or plead. Instead, under command of Captain Elena Ramirez, a veteran of interplanetary engineering missions and tactical operations, the entire planet seemed to breathe in unison, as if the air itself had been charged with determination, and from hidden orbital stations, humanity's first line of defense activated, not with explosions or immediate violence, but with a cascade of electromagnetic pulses designed to disable the enemy's guidance systems, a quiet, invisible storm that sent their drones spinning out of control. Their once assured path through Earth's defense is now chaotic and vulnerable, and as the Andros admirals watched in disbelief, reports flooding in of their vessels losing power in precise sequences, communications cut intermittently across their fleets, and automated systems failing in ways no one could have predicted, panic rippled through their ranks, their arrogance crumbling with each unexpected malfunction. Yet even as confusion spread, humanity's second phase began, a demonstration not merely of power but of intelligence and coordination, as surface-based electromagnetic arrays targeted the fuel cores of the largest warships with pinpoint accuracy, destabilizing engines without destroying them outright, a warning and a showcase. And simultaneously, human negotiators broadcast across all frequencies, not pleading, not threatening, but articulating a single unambiguous message. Any attempt at domination or aggression would be met with a response calibrated to neutralize threats completely and protect all life on Earth and its neighboring systems. And as the Andros envoys attempted to respond, they found their messages intercepted and subtly altered to reveal the sophistication of human cyber strategy, the irony not lost on them that the species they had dismissed as simple and peaceful now controlled every vector of engagement, demonstrating patience, cunning, and resolve. And from orbiting satellites to deep space monitoring stations, humans activated defensive drones that appeared almost invisible to the naked eye, their designs inspired by biological forms and engineered for both stealth and efficiency. While on the ground, humanity's leaders coordinated evacuation and shelter protocols not as panic measures, but as strategic positioning, showcasing a level of preparedness that stunned their invaders. And slowly, the Andros Collective realized that what they had expected to be a brief occupation had become a theater in which humans dictated the terms. Humans who were capable not only of defending themselves, but of unleashing capabilities that had remained hidden until provoked. And in the weeks that followed, as initial skirmishes erupted in space and along orbital boundaries, humanity's restraint and precision became legend, each countermeasure calculated to inflict minimal collateral damage while maximizing the psychological impact on the invaders, demonstrating a philosophy that combined tactical genius with moral purpose. The result a series of encounters in which humans seemed to anticipate every move, every maneuver, every underestimation, and in that relentless and disciplined unveiling of their true potential, the galaxy began to understand that Earth had never been weak, that peace had been a choice, not a limitation, and that the day humanity chose to defend itself fully, the Andros Collective and all who watched would witness a power that was not just technological but cultural, strategic, and fundamentally human. A power that redefined the notion of a peaceful species and announced that the galaxy's calculations had been catastrophically flawed. As the initial shockwave of human capability reverberated through the Andros fleets, reports of disabled systems and neutralized warships spread like wildfire across the interstellar network, generating confusion, fear, and incredulity among the galactic powers who had once dismissed Earth as inconsequential. And within human command centers, the atmosphere was calm, almost serene, a stark contrast to the chaos that gripped their enemies. For Captain Elena Ramirez and her team had anticipated every possible reaction, running simulations for every contingency and counter-contingency, leveraging decades of observational intelligence gathered through deep space probes, covert communications, and reverse-engineered alien technologies, allowing humans to strike with precision where it would be most psychologically impactful, while keeping the majority of their forces in reserve for controlled escalation. And as fleets attempted to regroup, a subtle but unmistakable shift in galactic diplomacy began to unfold, with smaller empires and neutral systems quietly observing, realizing that humanity was not merely defending itself, but asserting its presence with sophistication and resolve that defied all previous assumptions. And on Earth itself, the population remained united, civilians supporting operations in myriad ways, from providing raw materials and logistical assistance to analyzing alien communication patterns, demonstrating a level of societal cohesion that became a force multiplier, a living infrastructure of knowledge, ingenuity, and coordination that amplified every military action. And while Andros admirals debated strategies behind fortified command vessels, human drones executed surgical strikes that disrupted supply chains, isolated key command hubs, and simulated overwhelming force without causing unnecessary destruction, sending a clear message that humanity's strength was not brute aggression but intelligent dominance. And as weeks turned into months, small but decisive victories accumulated, revealing not only technological prowess but strategic philosophy, teaching the invaders that patience, observation, and moral consideration could coexist with ruthless efficiency. And as news of these human successes reached distant sectors, whispers of an unprecedented species capable of simultaneously defending, negotiating, and retaliating with unparalleled precision began to spread, igniting fear, respect, and curiosity. And as humanity continued its carefully measured campaigns, Earth became both fortress and beacon, a demonstration that civilization grounded in empathy, intelligence, and resilience could unleash power without losing its essence. And the Andros Collective, facing the relentless exposure of their miscalculations, gradually understood that every assumption about humans, their weakness, their passivity, their predictability, had been catastrophically wrong, that the peaceful veneer had been amassed for ingenuity, discipline, and strategic foresight, and that every counterattack they had attempted had been anticipated, studied, and exploited with surgical precision, turning each failed strike into further evidence of human supremacy. And in the corridors of their command ships, alien leaders began to feel a profound, almost visceral realization that the underestimated species they had mocked and threatened now defined the terms of engagement, controlled the tempo of conflict, and wielded a power that could not be matched by sheer fleet size or technological might alone, a power rooted in creativity, unity, and the relentless drive to protect life while asserting sovereignty. And with each passing day, as humanity continued its methodical and principled defense, the galaxy learned the hard truth that peace had been their choice but not their weakness, that restraint had been a tactical decision, and that when provoked, humans could unleash a scale and precision of force that no empire could ignore, rewriting the rules of interstellar conflict, demanding respect, recalibrating fear, and establishing Earth as a singular axis of influence in a galaxy that had once believed it held all the cards. As the Andros Collective scrambled to salvage their pride and regroup their scattered fleets, humans advanced not with reckless aggression, but with meticulous coordination, revealing layers of strategic depth that no alien mind had anticipated. And across orbital command stations, Captain Elena Ramirez and her advisory council monitored every transmission, every sensor reading, every fragment of intercepted data, orchestrating maneuvers that felt almost prescient, as if the humans could see the unfolding of the enemy's intentions before they themselves knew them. And on Earth, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to adapt human technologies to exploit weaknesses in alien designs, crafting countermeasures that disabled entire warship classes, while leaving them structurally intact to study and reverse engineer, while military tacticians simulated countless engagement scenarios, deploying drone satellites and automated defense networks in patterns that mirrored nature's own elegance, creating a system where every piece functioned in harmony with the others, an intricate web of offense and defense that left the invaders perpetually off balance. And as months passed, humans began executing controlled strikes that liberated occupied outposts, rescued alien colonies enslaved or intimidated by Andros forces, and displayed a level of moral consideration that left witnesses, both human and alien, in awe, for every engagement was calibrated to minimize harmed innocence, while maximizing the demonstration of capability, a philosophy that confused and unnerved the invaders, who had expected human resistance to be chaotic, emotional, and uncoordinated, yet found themselves consistently outmaneuvered by what appeared to be a seamless combination of ingenuity, foresight, and resolve. And in the halls of power across the galaxy, other species began to take note, questioning their previous alliances and strategies, whispering of a species that had once seemed harmless, but now defined a standard for tactical brilliance, resilience, and moral sophistication. And as humans reclaimed territories and demonstrated their protective philosophy, the Andros Collective faced not only military setbacks, but diplomatic isolation, as neutral systems rallied quietly to observe, negotiate, and hedge their bets, unwilling to align themselves with aggressors who could not predict the consequences of provoking humanity. And in the midst of these unfolding events, a covert mission led by Dr. Amina Khatri, a human xenobiologist and strategist, infiltrated an Andros research station, exposing collective secret surveillance and experimental programs, revealing to the galaxy the hubris, arrogance, and reckless exploitation that had driven their campaign. And the resulting intelligence provided humanity with further leverage, allowing them to anticipate attacks, safeguard populations, and demonstrate the unmatched efficiency of their response strategies, while at the same time sending a clear, unambiguous message that Earth was not merely defending itself. It was actively shaping the parameters of interstellar engagement, asserting that any force threatening the innocent or the peaceful would encounter a response measured not in vengeance alone, but in strategic and moral exactitude. And as the Andros fleets encountered one meticulously orchestrated countermeasure after another, their admirals realized with growing dread that the humans, restrained had been a facade masking a level of preparedness, unity, and technological mastery that no empire had factored into their calculations, and slowly, painfully, they began to understand that the galaxy had underestimated not just Earth's might, but its wisdom, its capacity for coordinated action, and the fundamental truth that humanity's power, though restrained, was absolute when provoked, a revelation that would reshape the balance of interstellar influence and leave the Andros Collective questioning every assumption they had ever held about one species that had quietly become the heartbeat of the cosmos' new order. With the Andros Collective reeling from repeated strategic setbacks and the revelation of humanity's hidden capabilities, humans began expanding their influence in ways that went beyond mere defense, deploying fleets not to conquer but to secure vulnerable systems, protect oppressed colonies, and prevent further active aggression, and each mission was executed with surgical precision, combining stealth technology, advanced AI coordination, and unparalleled human ingenuity, while Captain Elena Ramirez coordinated orbital defense grids in tandem with Dr. Amina Khatri's teams, whose knowledge of alien physiology and psychology allowed them to predict enemy behavior with remarkable accuracy. And on the front lines, human pilots flew formations that mirrored the fluidity of natural predator-prey dynamics, utilizing evasive maneuvers, ambush strategies, and energy redirection techniques that render conventional attacks ineffective, while on the ground, engineers and scientists synchronize the activation of planetary shields, sensor arrays, and adaptive weapon systems to create a multi-layered defense network that could respond instantly to threats while conserving resources and minimizing collateral damage. And as news of these operations spread, neutral and allied civilizations began to recognize that humanity's methods were not born solely in necessity, but of a deliberate philosophy combining protection, deterrence, and ethical dominance. And within Andros' command, senders, panic turned into desperation. with commanders attempting to coordinate large-scale counterattacks only to find that every human move had been anticipated and mitigated, supply lines disrupted, communications intercepted and manipulated, and warships immobilized without direct confrontation. And as weeks turned into months of stalemated encounters, humans undertook their first true offensive initiative, not to annihilate but to reclaim key strategic positions and safeguard life across multiple star systems, launching synchronized strikes that neutralized enemy capabilities while preserving infrastructure and populations, leaving Andros leaders confounded by the apparent paradox of an aggressive yet humane force. And during this period, humanity also demonstrated its diplomatic acumen, reaching out to allied species with offers of protection, resource sharing, and cooperative defense, building networks of mutual support that strengthened their moral and tactical position. And as the Andros fleets attempted to respond, they encountered not chaotic resistance but deliberate, intelligent, and patient countermeasures that exposed gaps in their assumptions and forced retreats that preserved life but shattered pride. And within this carefully orchestrated campaign, humanity revealed yet another layer of their capability, an advanced system of autonomous intelligence capable of analyzing vast interstellar data, predicting enemy movements, and optimizing every defensive and offensive maneuver, making each human engagement appear almost prophetic in its success. And as the Andros admirals faced the undeniable reality of a species they had dismissed, they recognized that Earth had never been merely a backwater planet, that humans had chosen peace not from weakness, but from conscious restraint, and that every act of defense, every rescue mission, every calculated counterstrike was a deliberate statement that humanity would protect its own and others without compromise. And in this revelation, the galaxy saw the dawn of a new order, where humans were no longer the underestimated species, but a force whose combination of strategy, technology, ethics, and resilience set a standard that even the mightiest empires could not ignore. And as humanity continued to expand its influence with precision and moral clarity, the Andros Collective understood at last that the peaceful species they had mocked had unleashed a power that redefined interstellar engagement, demonstrating that restraint, intelligence, and unity could be more devastating than any fleet, more commanding than any weapon, and more enduring than any empire. As humanity's influence expanded across contested systems, the Andros Collective found itself grappling not just with unexpected military setbacks, but with the broader implications of a species that combined moral clarity with unyielding efficiency. And while smaller powers observed cautiously, humans continue to demonstrate that true strength lay not in sheer force, but in precision, strategy, and the capacity to protect life while neutralizing threats. And on Earth, Captain Elena Ramirez convened with an expanded council of scientists, diplomats, and military strategists to coordinate multi-system operations. Their discussions a blend of tactical foresight, ethical deliberation, and technological innovation, while across liberated worlds, human teams work to stabilize governments, repair infrastructure, and train allied forces, ensuring that every victory translated into lasting security rather than temporary advantage. And the Andros admirals, watching these developments, experienced a profound frustration as their conventional doctrines crumbled against a species that seemed to anticipate every tactic, exploit every weakness, and maintain moral high ground simultaneously. And humanity's use of adaptive drones, stealth fleets, and predictive algorithms allowed them to engage in conflicts across multiple theaters without overextending, while their coordinated communication networks ensured that intelligence flowed seamlessly between planets, stations, and orbital command centers. And as humans rescued stranded civilians, dismantled weapons of mass destruction, and intervened to prevent ecological disasters triggered by the Andros occupation, they not only strengthened alliances, but also sent an unambiguous message that aggression against Earth or its values would meet with calibrated, overwhelming, and ethically measured retaliation. And in the corridors of Andros power, debates raged between those who advocated surrender, those who sought revenge, and those who began to fear the long-term consequences of underestimating a species whose patience had been mistaken for weakness. And as humanity launched a series of coordinated strikes to reclaim key outposts, the precision, timing, and restraint of their operations left alien observers stunned. As entire fleets were immobilized or rerouted without destruction, their pride shattered, while human forces emerged unscathed, a testament to planning, foresight, and a deep understanding of both enemy, psychology, and the physical universe. And at the same time, Human diplomats engage in outreach to neutral civilizations, offering security, technological exchange, and shared defense strategies, further isolating the Andros Collective and creating a coalition of observers and allies that subtly shifted the balance of galactic power. And through all of this, humanity maintained a disciplined philosophy. Every action served both to protect life and to teach the galaxy a lesson in prudence, resilience, and respect, revealing that their so-called peaceful nature had never been passive, but a calculated choice, a deliberate restraint that masked potential of staggering depth and sophistication. And as Andros commanders realized the scale of their miscalculation, they understood with mounting dread that humanity's true power was not just technological, not just tactical, but a synthesis of strategy, unity, intelligence, and moral resolve, a combination that no empire could simply overwhelm, ignore, or intimidate. And as the human campaigns continue with unwavering precision, the galaxy witnessed the emergence of a new paradigm, one where peace was a tactical advantage. Restraint was a demonstration of strength, and the underestimated species had, once been dismissed, now dictated the terms of engagement, setting a precedent that would echo across the stars for generations to come, leaving the Andros Collective to confront the irreversible truth that provoking humanity had been their gravest error, a lesson written in both strategy and consequence that no empire could forget. As the Andros Collective struggled to comprehend the unfolding reality, humanity's campaigns transitioned from defensive precision to proactive protection, deploying fleets and covert teams to stabilize regions previously under alien control, and in every engagement, humans demonstrated an uncanny ability to anticipate enemy movements, neutralize threats without unnecessary destruction, and safeguard civilian populations, a combination that confounded traditional military doctrine and forced even the most hardened admirals to reconsider their assumptions, and Captain Elena Ramirez coordinated with Dr. Amina Khatri and a network of human strategists to integrate intelligence from every source, intercepted communications, censored data, behavioral analysis of alien commanders, creating a dynamic operational map that allowed humans to respond to multiple theaters simultaneously with efficiency and foresight, while across liberated worlds, human teams established communication hubs, medical facilities, and emergency logistics networks that not only provided immediate relief, but strengthened the social and political structures of allied species, reinforcing the impression that humanity's power was not just martial but civilizational. And as the Andros fleets attempted to regroup, they found themselves ensnared in a series of engagements where every maneuver was countered, every assumption exploited, and every opportunity to regain control anticipated and blocked, leaving admirals scrambling in disbelief as the humans revealed an ever-expanding array of technologies and strategies, from adaptive shields that recalibrated instantaneously to AI-driven drone swarms that could execute hundreds of coordinated actions without human intervention. And while the humans demonstrated overwhelming capability in space, on Earth, society itself became a strategic asset, with engineers, scientists, and civilians contributing to a massive, synchronized network of support that amplified every military operation. And as humans rescued enslaved populations, dismantled occupation infrastructures, and provided humanitarian aid to allies, they not only undermined the Andros authority, but showcased a level of moral sophistication that deepened the psychological impact on their enemies, forcing a reckoning that went beyond tactical defeats to a realization that humanity's strength encompassed intellect, empathy, and foresight in equal measure. And as the Andros leadership attempted last-ditch offensives, they encountered human strategies that seemed almost prescient, with every countermeasure tailored to exploit structural weaknesses, tactical missteps, and psychological vulnerabilities, leaving fleets immobilized or rerouted without significant loss, a demonstration of restraint and control that conveyed both warning and inevitability. And through it all, humans maintained communication with allied species, establishing frameworks for joint defense, resource sharing, and interstellar governance that solidified support and further isolated the Andros, while each successful operation revealed another layer of humanity's capability, a combination of technological mastery, strategic brilliance, and ethical consideration that no empire had anticipated. And as weeks of relentless, precise, and morally guided campaigns continued, the Andros Collective slowly recognized a catastrophic error in underestimating a species that had once seemed benign but now commanded the attention, respect, and fear of the galaxy, a species whose peaceful nature had never been weakness, whose patience had been a shield, and whose unleashing of true power had redefined the rules of engagement and established humanity as an unassailable force whose influence would resonate across the cosmos for generations, leaving the invaders to confront the unalterable truth that provoking Earth had been a miscalculation of unparalleled magnitude. As the Andros Collective faced the undeniable reality of their repeated failures, humanity shifted from calculated defense to decisive demonstration, coordinating planetary, orbital, and interstellar operations that left no doubt about their superiority in strategy, technology, and moral authority. And Captain Elena Ramirez oversaw the final phase of the campaign, a meticulously orchestrated sequence in which humans neutralized remaining pockets of resistance, secured key star systems, and ensured the safety of all allied and neutral populations, their actions precise, measured, and utterly overwhelming without unnecessary destruction. And in every encounter, humans displayed a mastery of coordination, predictive strategy, and adaptive technology that left alien commanders in awe as fleets were immobilized, supply lines disrupted, and communication subverted with surgical efficiency, while rescue operations and humanitarian interventions reinforced the galaxy's perception of humanity as not only powerful but principled. And as Andros admirals realized that conventional tactics could not overcome a species that combined patience, ingenuity, and moral clarity with unmatched technical skill, they were forced to accept terms dictated by humans, terms that emphasize protection, justice, and the preservation of life, fundamentally reshaping interstellar governance. And as treaties were rewritten, alliances recalibrated, and the liberated system stabilized, the galaxy collectively acknowledged that Earth had transitioned from a quiet, underestimated planet to a central axis of influence whose decisions would shape political, military, and ethical standards for generations, and humanity, though victorious, remained true to its principles, demonstrating restraint, compassion, and wisdom alongside unmatched capability, teaching the galaxy that power need not be ruthless to be absolute, that restraint can be a weapon as formidable as fleets or weapons of mass destruction, and that the peaceful nature of a species does not denote weakness but can hide depth, resilience, and strategic genius. And in the aftermath, as humans oversaw the reconstruction, integrated alien technologies, and forged new interstellar collaborations, the Andros Collective and every observer understood the lesson that would echo across the stars forever. To underestimate humanity was to court disaster. To provoke them was to face precise, overwhelming, and principled force, and that Earth's true power, restrained until the moment of necessity, had been unleashed not in vengeance, but in a demonstration of wisdom, unity, and the unassailable strength of a species that had long been underestimated, forever rewriting the narrative of the galaxy and cementing humanity's place as a force that commanded respect, fear, and admiration across the cosmos.